So
Okay.
Val, I want to thank you for being a part of the Dream Team #1. And I'm excited that we have an opportunity to do our Dream Talk. So before we get started, if you want to just tell some of our Dream Team members a little bit about you, especially those who may not know you very well.
Sure. Yeah. So thank you so much for having me. I was really excited when I won the Dream Talk, and it felt like fate to me. But anyway, my name is Valerie, and I'm from Sacramento, California, and I do content creation for a living, and I have a little YouTube channel, and I just love everything that involves writing. And I've had this little idea for a book that's been marinating in my head for the last 2 years, and I'm being extra proactive and trying to get that nailed down. And in my free time, I love to travel. And so, like, for those of you who may be following my Instagram or my Facebook, you may see like a lot of travel pictures. It's just I live for it. So yeah, that's me in a nutshell.
I love that. Thank you, Val. And I really appreciate you saying that, because so many of our dreamers, they see some of your content, but they don't know everything that you do. So one thing that I'd like to do whenever we're done with this, I'd like to be able to share all of your links so that way people can connect with you, learn more about your work, and be inspired by the work that you do. So we'll do that. But one of the things that I really want to talk about are the dreams, because whenever we hear about people having various goals and dreams that they want to accomplish in waking state, oftentimes we're getting guidance from those dreams in dream state. So let's see if we can make some connections tonight. And we've got 4 main dreams that we want to explore. So for those of you that are listening in, Val is really going to give us a huge gift today, because we're going to be exploring her dreams. And if there's an opportunity, of course, I'll share some of mine, Val. But today, the point is to connect with you, to learn about your dreams, and to guide you the best way that we can. So let's start with the fun one, okay? Oftentimes we wake up from a dream and we have a lot of happiness and joy. So I want to hear from you. What is that one dream that you remember, and it can be any dream from at any age, that really brought you that joy? And tell us why.
Oh, yeah, I had some time to think about that, and it was just really hard to nail one down. I think, though, there's a lot of little tidbits from dreams that I've been thinking about, and I think the most fun dreams to me are the ones where I'm traveling. And so far, I don't know if the word is virtually, but in my dreams, I've been to Japan, Spain, France, that I can remember anyways. And the one that stuck out the most, I mean, my dream has been to go to Japan, but the one that stuck out the most to me was kind of peculiar, because it was one where I was in France, and it was in like this small town. The name of it offhand escapes me, but I have it written down. And I remember waking up and just, like, I don't know, Googling it, because it was just something random that I've never even heard of before. And I'm like, wow, that's an actual town in France. I'm like, that's so strange. And it was so weird. Like, I'd never heard of it or anything like that. So just like having dreams like that, that was just one that really just kind of stuck out, where I was like, wow, maybe I'm meant to go there someday.
Yes, absolutely. And I love that, Val, because sometimes people think like, oh, dream state is jumbled up and it gives you weird information. But oftentimes you're going to get like specific names. And in this case, it's like a specific town. And the cool thing is, it's like you said, you hadn't heard of the town before, but as you research it, you're like, oh my gosh, this is actually a real town. So that is really helpful for other dreamers too, because oftentimes whenever you have a dream of a particular location, and even when you get like a name specifically like you did, we are definitely meant to explore it, right? And oftentimes the dream is like preparing us for when we do go and visit. So tell me, do you often get dreams where you feel and you hear like the location name, and then do you go to it, or what do you do with that information?
I think, like, in the dream, it feels so real, like I'm there. And even though like I've never been to France, I'd love to go there someday, but it just felt so, like, it felt real, like like I was there, and like from pictures that I've seen, and it was just, yeah, and it was just so. And Japan's another one where I've had kind of like more vivid like imagery in the dreams where I feel like, well, I've never been to this place, but somehow I just know that's what it looks like. You know, that's what I've seen pictures of or something like that. And it's really cool.
It is. And you know what? I always think that whenever things like that happen, it's because we are connected to everybody in this universe. And also, we're connected to the energy of the actual locations and places. So, oftentimes, even if we haven't been to those places, but we've interacted with people who carry maybe that energy or that culture, I feel that energetically, like we're communicating that to one another without really mentally thinking about it, right? So then whenever you have a dream like this and then it gives you the images, number one, but then number two, a specific name, that makes you even wonder like, oh my gosh, dream state offers me so much and so much specific guidance, right? So what would you tell our dreamers who are new to remembering their dreams and they get like a location name where they see themselves traveling? What would you tell them from your experience about these kinds of dreams?
I think what's worked for me, and it's usually like, you know, I wake up in the middle of the night to go to the bathroom or something like that. I'm all groggy and tired. I'm like, "Ah, I really don't want to write it down, but I know if I don't write it down, then I'm gonna forget. Because then, like, usually I'll go back to sleep, and then it's either a continuation of that dream or it's something else. So usually, what I do is I kind of cheat a little bit. I open my phone and I just have like this little writer app, and I'm just like just kind of like writing down what
Yeah,
I
like
can remember. And sometimes it's gibberish, but like the ideas are like, oh, okay, I can remember that now. Even like, oh, like it seems like gibberish, but I remember like the focal point of it. And so I got kind of used to doing that routine, and it's usually like right when I wake up, or still I'm kind of like in that headspace where I could still remember it. I just like jot it down, even if I can't remember 100% like all of the details. I'll just put what I can remember down there, and I can remember like the idea of what the dream was, and try to figure out like maybe what that may have meant to me.
Mhm. I love that. And that's a really good point because oftentimes, we have these beautiful dreams, these awesome experiences, and we just kind of leave them there. And if we don't jot them down, we often, can lose the information. But then also, oftentimes, there's like really important guidance, like in your case, where it says a particular location, right? And oftentimes, when that happens, it's because there's something to do with that location. There's either someone we're going to meet from there, there's something we need to explore. So it's really important to jot these things down. So I'm glad you said that for some of our new Dream Team members who are new to really remembering their dreams. So, besides the joyful dreams, now, oftentimes we talk about these creative dreams, the ones where we're in the dream and maybe we are creating, but maybe we're seeing things that are just out of this world that seem just super creative and maybe even inspire creativity when you wake up. Has this happened to you before? What are those creative dreams that you have that you can remember?
Yeah, so the ones that kind of off the top of my head that I thought about, and actually I thought about potentially maybe putting into a book at, some place and time, because sometimes that's actually how I've gotten inspiration to write different things. I'll wake up with it, like it's usually early in the morning. And one that kind of stuck out to me was one where I felt like I was me, and there was like this group of people who knew me, but I didn't know who they were. I just they we had met up. I think it was at like a restaurant, and they're like, oh, we're so happy to see you. And I'm like, but I had no idea who these people were. And I really felt that, I don't know, they could have been me potentially in another universe or something like that. And then I've also had dreams of of like that involve my husband and I, and like some that are kind of weird. It's either, one was in particular when he was younger, before we even met, and it was like me now, but him like much younger,
Mm.
and like learning about like some of the things that happened in his past. I'm like, oh wow. And just I remember being really shocked, and then like later on finding out that some of these things, like some of these like family dynamics that he had going on, actually did happen. And so it was just like crazy to me, because I'm like, okay, I'm me now, but like I didn't know you back then, but then I had this dream somehow.
Right, right. And that's powerful, Val, because what you're talking about there is capturing all of that energy during waking state, right? Sometimes what we'll find is that our loved ones will feel certain things, but maybe they won't express it to us, or maybe they're carrying around these like heavy traumatic experiences, but it's hard to talk about, right? But you being the empathetic person that you are, you literally are like receiving this, and the mind maybe isn't capturing it, right? So you go to sleep at night and then boom, there it is. And it just lets you know how emotionally and energetically intelligent your entire self is, right? Especially whenever you hear about some of these things actually being related to waking state for him, right? So whenever that happened, what did you do with that information at the time? Did you know what it meant, or what did you do with it?
I think I may have shared it with him when it happened. Because sometimes, just depending, if I have a really prevalent dream, I'll usually share it with him, be like, "Oh, this happened," and he's usually like, "Oh, wow, that's kind of crazy." And like at that point in time, like we talk a little bit about it, but like, um, I think it was hard to kind of get into a lot of detail. And he said that, some of these situations were kind of real to him, but it didn't like, I didn't get a whole lot of detail until like later on. Like I kind of found out like, oh wow, this was something that went on by talking to some of like his other relatives and stuff like that. And I think there were some things that maybe he actually couldn't remember, but he's like, yeah, I felt this way towards this person, or that was definitely like our dynamic when I was growing up. So it was really interesting to piece together. And yeah, so I think he tells me, he's like, I never remember my dreams, like unless there's like that one crazy dream that stands out to him. But yeah, he's like, I don't know. He's like, I don't know how to remember my dreams. And I try to give him like some tips, but I think it's something that he's kind of like still kind of working on and trying to figure out. But I like that he's like open to like a lot of like supernatural stuff. And I think that's one of the reasons like we get along so well, is like we're like super open to that type of stuff, even though sometimes like maybe we're a little bit skeptical about something. Like he's open to the information, but maybe he's not 100% sure about it.
Yeah, no, but that's really wonderful though, because like number one, like you said, he's open to the information. And then the other piece of it is this, it's like, you being so connected in that way, you can receive all of this information in dream state. And like we said, even if they're not ready to talk about it for whatever reason, you as a conscious creator can be aware of this. So that way, whenever you are interacting with them in waking state, you'll know, okay, this part may be a little sensitive for this person. So let me be extra careful and let me be extra supportive where I can be, right? So this is when dream state becomes so powerful, because sometimes we think that everything we see in waking, like that's all that there is, right? But dream state offers us so much more. And if we literally use it like you have now, then it's going to help you connect your relationship and really grow that relationship with them, because you're understanding them at a really deep level by the dreams that you're having. So I think that's beautiful. I think that the dream team that watches this, I think they'll really connect with that piece, and I think that is really inspirational within itself. That's beautiful, Val. Thank you. So before we move on to the next one is a little bit about worry and fear. Is there anything else you want to share about the creativity piece?
I think that, the creativity piece, I've actually, one of the reasons I write down the dreams is because they give me, like, they kind of inspire me to maybe write about them. Maybe not, in the nonfiction sense, but maybe in the characters I'm creating. Some of these pieces can play out, and I think that's usually what I kind of tend to do in my writing a lot. Like, maybe there's pieces of me and or other people in my life. And it's just really exciting when I get dreams like that, and I'm like, oh wow, I just have this like overwhelming urge to write. I just have this like just this creative impulse, and it's just I really truly enjoy it.
I love that. I love it. And so these dreams that you're writing down and these characters that you can connect with, whether, like you said, you piece them together from people that you know and from your dream experiences. Are you drafting this in a form of a book yet? Where are you on that process?
So I have some pieces and outlines kind of written out, and they're like a little bit scattered. I have actually two different book ideas. One book I actually have like the creator or the characters all kind of ironed out, like what their names are and kind of the general premise of the plot. I know it sounds so weird because like I'm not like gotten like started writing paragraphs
Yeah.
into it, but I have like this outline. This is what I want to have happen. These are their names. These are some of the people in their life. And then the other one is more like it kind of will stem from the dreams. Like these are the certain things that I kind of want to have happen. And I want that particular one to kind of be kind of like very spiritual, little bit. I'm super into like paranormal stuff. So like I think both will be some semblance of like paranormal and like romance, because I'm a sucker for romance, and that's a lot of what I
Who
read.
isn't?
So,
Yeah. Oh, I love
yeah.
that. Well, I want to keep learning more about your books, because I always think that, look, if you use your dreams and you gather information from them and then you feel the urge to write, it's like the universe saying you absolutely have to get this out, right? It's like you literally have to. So maybe that's also why sometimes you say that you feel pressured to like do it, but then you're like, oh, getting started is like kind of, making me worry and stuff. But again, like, remember we talked about yesterday about leaning into the experience. And I really think that that's something that you can practice, Val, because these stories that you're talking about, I feel like are going to be so inspirational and healing for you and for other people that read them. So I'm just telling you, I'm excited about it. And whenever I can, support you and push you to do it, then I definitely will.
Thank you. Yeah, I actually it's kind of funny because when I was younger, a couple of my friends are authors, and they became authors when we were in high school. And I'm like, yeah, I don't know. Like I've written a lot, like poems and stuff like that. They've never seen the light of day, but I spend a lot of time writing fan fiction for the X-Files, Sailor Moon, stuff like that, and just using like characters that are like already exist, and just kind of creating that story for them. And I've been doing that for like so many years, like since I was like 11 or 12. But I remember like telling my friends, like, I don't know, like I don't have an idea for like I'd like to publish something someday, but I don't know what I'd write about. And so part of me was just like, I wish I had that idea when I was younger, but like it just like within the last 2.5 years or so, I'd say like, oh, it just came to me. I want to write about that. And it's like,
Good.
it's weird how
Yeah.
it came to me so much later in life, but yeah.
Yeah, no, I think that's great, Val, and that's inspirational within itself, because it doesn't have to happen like at a certain time, right? I think it's like whenever everything aligns, mind, body, soul, and that connection to the universe or what have you, the spark comes. And as soon as it does, like you better run with it, right? You better run with it before you decide, oh, you know what? I'll put it off till later. There's no
Yeah.
more putting it off, right? There's no more.
Yeah. And I've had a tendency to do that in some other works where I'll be like writing, I don't know, something that's like, I don't know, 20 chapters of like, and then like I'll kind of get writer's block and never come to it. But there are like a few panels. So I follow a lot of X-Files actors and the creator, where they give a lot of writing advice, because some of them also have published books. And I think this is so true. Like for me, like the advice I really resonate with is just like, even though you have writer's block and you feel like you can't write, you just got to sit down and just put your hands on the keyboard and just do it. And then I find that really actually works for me. It's just, this is a matter of sitting down and just doing it and getting those words out. And then usually the flow kind of comes from there.
Absolutely. I love that. I think that's great, because it's like before you can even allow the ego to wake up and start questioning, you're like, forget it, just let me do it. I can relate to that like 100%. Yes, absolutely. And that's like with everything, right? Not even writing, but other things. Anything that you're trying to work on, the more that you think about it and you allow the ego to question, the longer it's going to take. But if you just start jumping into it, then it's like you're already doing it before you realize it, right? I love that.
Yeah.
Love it. So this takes us to the other item. Now, I know whenever we talk about dreams that cause fear and cause anxiety, this often makes people uncomfortable, because like, why would we want to talk about something that brings me fear? But I want to make sure that that the people that watch this understand that whatever dream that brings about fear is really just a loving alert, and it's inviting us to bring healing and bring love to a particular situation. So Val, tell us a little bit about some of your dreams that have caused you worry and fear. And well, once you're done telling us about it, then we'll move to the next step. So go ahead.
Okay. I think some of the ones that have caused me the most fear are ones that have to do with my health or the health of my loved ones. And there is a particular time where I was going through some health issues back like 4 years ago. And I was just like so scared, without getting into like a lot of detail. Like I was just so afraid that I was gonna die. Like, I know it sounds kind of extreme, but I was just so afraid. And so like I had these dreams where like one of them was where like I had cancer, or I was dying of cancer, and I'm like, or actually, you know, I had another recent dream because there's someone in my family, my aunt, who's dealing with some health issues, and I had a dream about her and her having a lot of health issues, and to me, it was kind of a sign to, because I know like like, in waking state, like she was actually going through like a lot of anxiety about it, while she had to get a biopsy and wait for the results, and those took a little bit, and I just felt this overwhelming urge to reach out to her and talk to her about it, because I'm like, I've been there. I've been in a similar situation, like where I was just so scared for my health that like I know how this feels, like this waiting period, and just feeling like you have like this terminal illness, or you're just waiting to see like what the results are going to be, and like how agonizing that is. And so I told her, she actually had no idea I was going through some of these things during that time. And I don't think a lot of people do, but I felt like, and that I was telling my mom, I'm like, I feel like, if I could help somebody by talking about it, like then I'm going to talk about it. I'm going to, tell people about my experience, if it can make someone just feel less alone. So to me, that kind of gave me the urge to reach out to her, and she felt a lot better. And she's like, wow, I had no idea that happened to you. And she's like, we kind of got into it a little bit, and, we got good news for her a couple days ago. And so we're just, yeah, it was really, really good. And I just felt just blessed to be able to help her with that.
Oh my gosh, Val, I love that. There's so many layers to what you just said. The first piece about you going through it, right? And being able to see it in a different light, even though it was scary and everything during that time, it sounds like what you did was like, okay, what can I learn from this experience, right? Number one. And then number two, how can I help someone else like my aunt who's going through this? And how can I apply my learning to what she's going through right now? And the part that really intrigues me too is that you had a dream about her and then you woke up with this urge to call her, right? And the cool thing is like you didn't just allow that thought to lay there. You're like, I'm just going to do it, right? You just did it. And that's what we're talking about, right? Having these dreams, being able to get the guidance, understand what they mean, and then when you wake up, like actually do something about it. And it's powerful because now you did get good news, right? And you were able to be part of that support system. Congratulations. How has that affected your other experiences? Whenever you get dreams like this that cause you fear and anxiety, how is it that you deal with them now that you understand more about your dreams and yourself?
I think personally, there's actually been other dreams that I've had that have involved like family or friends that, like if we're going through something or going through a rough patch, and I'm able to kind of wake up and kind of think about it. And actually, I'll give one example. I was having a lot of anxiety, about like some things my mom and I were dealing with, and I was hesitant to share the dream, and I knew exactly why I had the dream, and I was hesitant to share it with her. But I think she's pretty open about a lot of things about like this too, and about dreams and stuff. And sometimes she'll just randomly share it with me, and so I shared the dream with her, and I told her, I'm like, this is why I feel like I had this dream, and I think it helped us kind of like work through it, and I think that was really helpful. So just depending on what it is and what it's about, and the person in question, I usually will tell them like, this is kind of the dream that I had, and like, and it's usually, yeah, the ones that kind of give me this anxiety, and I just I feel like, yeah, I need to share this. So, and I think that's been kind of helpful and changed my life, and because it's at a subconscious level, like, and it's not like I am directly like, oh, you did this or did this and that. It's like, no, I had this dream, and like this is what happened. So not being defensive about it, and just saying, this is like what happened in my dream, and this is why I think I had it, and just kind of talking about it, and being able to connect that in that way and work through some issues, I think has been really beneficial.
Wow. Yes, I love that. Well, and also, it sounds like you've been able to work through issues personally, but like you mentioned, talking about it with your mom, like that's like on a whole different level, Val, because at that point now it's like two people coming to the table here and discussing this dream, right? And then being able to both bring some loving guidance and solution to it. So that part is really powerful because oftentimes whenever we do get these dreams, we think, okay, this is just for me. I'm just supposed to keep it. But if you have the urge to share it with somebody, you absolutely have to, because maybe that person is going to be the one that's going to provide that additional clarity or that additional idea that maybe you didn't think of before to help you get to that solution. So I think that's a really important piece. So do you and your mom, or do you and your family talk about dreams more regularly now? How has that changed in your life?
I think I mostly just talk about my dreams to my mom and my husband usually, or unless, like in the case of my aunt, I didn't tell her that I had a dream about her. Actually, not in this particular case. There was another time that I had a dream about her that I told her that I had a dream about her, and that's what led me to kind of connect with her. But during this time, I didn't connect because I felt like the dream was so kind of not explicit, but I didn't want to like make her like scared or freak her out. So I just kind of, I'm like, hey, like my mom and I were having a conversation. My mom was kind of telling me like some of the things she was saying. And I'm like, oh, actually, I kind of had this dream and I just had, some of these things that she was saying just made me like, oh, I've been through that. Like, I'm gonna reach out to her. So I think that was really helpful.
Oh, I love that. That's powerful. That's so powerful because now it's like you're able to remember your dreams, but then also use them for yourself. And it
Yeah.
sounds too like whenever you feel the need to connect with someone in your family, you're like the support system. You're like, okay, I kind of feel I got the vibes of what's going on. So I'm going to be ready to help you and support you, which is something that we're always talking about. So I love that, Val. Congratulations. It's really interesting for the Dream Team members that don't know. Val was in our dream circle like back before COVID, right, Val? Was that kind of what it
Yeah.
was? Yeah. And Val, I can tell you, I feel like you have learned so many different things now, like about your dreams, and you seem to really be connected with them on a whole different level. So congratulations for that. That makes me so happy. I love
Oh.
that. Yes. So we have some time. I'd like to open the kind of sharing. It's not really a circle today. It's more just like this. But I want to open it. Is there anything in particular that you want to share, or any questions that you have that maybe I can help you with?
There is actually a dream that I had recently. I think a lot of folks in the dream team might already know, but one of my kitties had recently passed away, and we were expecting it because she was like, she was 18, and my husband and I, like, we spent time like kind of talking about like certain, like, will we cremate her or bury her, things like that, some logistics. And but still, like, we weren't entirely prepared for like when it did happen. And I just like, like, we were just really, really sad. And, you know, we felt, because we had to put her to sleep. And, he actually had to do that without me because I was in Southern California at the time. And I'm like, do you prefer me to be there with you? Like, I'll be there with you, if you want me to be there. And he's like, no, it's okay. I'll be okay. And, in the meantime, he was calling me during this process. And I think I was on my way home that day. And, so he told me like when it happened and this and that. And then I think for me, I felt like, I'm like, you don't resent me for not being there, right? And he's like, no, of course not. And I'm like, just kind of having this feeling like, I know now, like we did the right thing. She was older, and the vet told us like um, you know, she had like a lump in her throat, potentially it was cancer. She could have had all these different things. And I'm like, well, I feel like the best thing for her is to lovingly let her go. And, we didn't want to make her like suffer any longer, because there was no guarantee she would get better. And so, we kind of went through this period where like, did we make the right decision? And I think it was about a week ago, I actually had this this dream about her. And at the time, I was in the dream state. I was kind of confused because, I knew that she, had passed away, and but in the dream, she was herself and walking around. I'm like, how could you be walking around like you passed away? And I felt like it was like she was giving me a message that she was okay. And and so it just made me feel like, okay, I can move on. So.
Yes. You're absolutely right. I love that, Val. And yeah, oftentimes that's how they're going to come back, right? They don't want us to remember them as like being sick or anything like that. They want us to remember how vibrant they were, right? And how good they made us feel. So yes, like you're very much in tune with the dream message. And that's one of those loving ones that is just meant to remind you, like, yes, you did the right thing, especially because it happened so soon after, right?
Yeah.
So beautiful, beautiful. Did you share that one with your husband?
Yeah, I did.
Good. Yeah, that's an important one. And you know what? If you haven't written this one down, you'll want to write it down so that way you remember the exact process, right? The kitty went to heaven. They're no longer physically here, but then very soon after you got your message to reaffirm that you did the right thing. You want to make sure to remember these things because now that you're so connected to your dreams in this way, you may get dreams before they pass away just to prepare you, right? And then you'll get that closing message after. So just prepare yourself to be able to receive that information. That's beautiful, Val. Thank you. Oh, I love that one. Oh, I can relate because of when, my cotton passed away. I would get dreams like that too, just letting me know, like, I'm okay, we're good, and those dreams are like the biggest gift. So I can relate to that. I appreciate that, Val.
Yeah.
All right. Well, we have a couple more minutes. Is there anything that you want to close out with saying or letting our dream team members know about?
Just that, learning about my dreams and documenting them has just really changed my life in a lot of ways and led to a lot of self-discovery. And just kind of helped me navigate my life better. It's been a source of inspiration for creative projects that I'm doing in my life. I've usually sourced inspiration in other different ways, and not so much from dreams until I really started documenting them. I'm like, oh wow, this would be great to write about. So I definitely think it's just so valuable for anyone to really know, and I think this is the process of, whenever you wake up, that last thought, try to jot it down. And I think, for me, it just kind of became a habit. And once it kind of becomes a habit, I think it gets easier and easier. But you don't want to wait until later in the day to try to write it down. I mean, sometimes I can remember it, but a lot of times it's kind of faded away. But I think, it's just so valuable. And yeah, it's really changed my life. And I encourage anyone to get interested in learning about their dreams, and it can help you deal with various situations in your life.
Oh, I love that, Val. Thank you. And it makes me so happy to hear that because I remember when we were first talking about dreams and we're talking about how to remember them, right? Like the basics. And now you're over here, using your dreams to guide you, using them to support your family and stuff. The growth is amazing. And then using them for your creative writing, that makes me feel so good, Val. I want to congratulate you and let you know that, me and the dream team members, we're behind you. We support you. And we're really happy to see your growth. And we're excited to see where you're headed. I can see that there are going to be a lot of magical new things for you. So congratulations, Val.
Thank you.
All right, dream team members. Well, we send you a huge hug. We both send you love, unity, and peace. And we will see you soon. Bye, everybody.